Jelly Roll's career is all about overcoming adversity, so it makes perfect sense that his life turned around for the better when a prison guard delivered some very important news. Jelly Roll was born Jason Bradley DeFord in the Antioch area of Nashville, Tennessee. His mother bestowed his famous nickname on him when he was young, and it stuck. His father, Horace, worked for a wholesale meat business, while also pulling together extra cash by moonlighting as a bookie. As far back as Jelly Roll can remember, his mother battled addiction while also struggling with her mental health. As he recalled to CBS Sunday Morning in 2024, "I knew my father booked bets. I knew my mother struggled with drugs. So to me, this was just what you did." By the time Jelly Roll was a teenager, he started gravitating towards petty crime. He's the first to admit that he caused his parents no end of grief during those years. As he wrote on Facebook in 2019, "Many times the police knocked on my mother's door looking for me. Many nights, she went to sleep worried the phone would ring in the middle of the night and something would have happened bad. Many nights she prayed and worried if I would ever get my life together."
This is Entertown, USA. It's just middle, lower class America, man.
Jelly Roll was arrested for the first time at the age of 14, and over the next decade or so, he became intimately familiar with incarceration. The charges varied, ranging from possession of drugs with the intent to sell to shoplifting and robbery. His brushes with the law took a darkly serious turn when he was charged with aggravated assault at the age of 16. He was charged as an adult and faced a potential sentence of 20 years. As he recalled to Billboard in 2023, "They were talking about giving me more time than I'd been alive." Jelly Roll was ultimately sentenced to 8 years, but wound up serving just over a year. He then spent the next 7 years on probation and wound up returning to prison several times in the years that followed. As he later reflected, "I feel like the justice system at that point kind of parked me on my only set path."
Anything that hurt people, I wish I could change that. But I was just a kid, man.
During one prison stint in 2008, a guard knocked on Jelly Roll's cell door to deliver some big news. As the singer recalled to CBS Sunday Morning, he said, "DeFord, you had a kid today." I said, "What?" He said, yeah, you had a child." And I was like, "What's her name?" And he said, "Hell, I don't know." That turned out to be the moment that everything changed for Jelly Roll, as becoming a father made him realize that he needed to get his life back on track, and fast. As he told People magazine in 2023, "I compare it to the Christian scripture of when Saul turned into Paul on the Damascus Road."
My daughter saved my life. She wasn't old enough to even know it.
Jelly Roll started studying for the GED, and he passed on his first attempt. He also ultimately gave himself 2 options for how to move his life forward: study to become a social worker, or focus on the music he'd been making since his teenage years. He chose the latter. After getting out of prison, Jelly Roll was finally able to see his daughter, Bailey Ann, for the first time, at her 2nd birthday. While committing to be a part of her life, he realized that there was something else he needed to confront: drugs. He's continued to use marijuana and drink alcohol, but he's managed to leave the harder stuff behind. As he told The Guardian in 2023, "I didn't have a choice. It was me or them, and I had to learn to love myself." Jelly Roll is aware that his version of quasi-sobriety isn't for everyone, but he insists that it works for him. As he explained, "I walk the line when I talk about my recovery out of respect for the people that have actually worked the program and completely sobered up."
I represent overcoming. I represent the guy that wasn't supposed to make it, making it.
Jelly Roll has been a fan of rap music since his earliest days. As he revealed to Billboard in 2021, "The culture I was first exposed to was hip-hop. Not even just music, but the culture, breakdancing, graffiti, freestyling, the clothing." As he immersed himself in Nashville's burgeoning rap scene, he also began creating his own music. As he grew more confident in his skills, he headed to a recording studio, and then he handed out his CDs to his customers while dealing drugs. As he recalled to CBS Sunday Morning, "I'm just like, yo, here's a sack of weed, here's a gram of coke, here's a mixtape. Know what I'm saying? I rap too. It was like my business card." Jelly Roll experienced his first brush with success in 2010 when Pop Another Pill, his collaboration with Memphis rapper Lil White, became a modest hit. For the next decade, he slogged away in small clubs while slowly building up a following. As his popularity grew and he made a gradual shift from rap to country, he was met with resistance from the powers that be among the country music establishment. As he told The Guardian, "I was told nobody's gonna buy a 400-pound man singing sad songs. Like, it's just not in the bingo card for what the climate of music is."
Whatever you're dreaming of right now could be too small.
In 2013, Jelly Roll released the mixtape Whiskey, Weed, and Waffle House. The cover art featured a marijuana leaf, a bottle of Crown Royal whiskey, and the Waffle House logo. The new release quickly attracted attention, but not exactly the kind he was hoping for, as Waffle House threatened to sue him for using the logo without permission. He initially thought that someone was just joking around with him, but then he altered the cover and changed the title to Whiskey, Weed, and Women. Jelly Roll eventually realized, though, that Waffle House's legal threat provided him plenty of free publicity. The story was covered by the likes of Gawker, and Jimmy Fallon even joked about it on The Tonight Show. As Jelly Roll wrote on Instagram in 2021, "Long story short, my fat ass holds no grudges. I still come by one anytime I'm drunk or hungover." Jelly Roll was performing in Las Vegas in 2015 when he met his future wife, Bunny XO. Their road to romance was a rocky one, though. At that time, he was sleeping in his van because he couldn't afford hotel rooms, while she was working as an escort and was dating someone else. One night in 2016, she was watching him perform at a Las Vegas club when he surprised her with a marriage proposal. She said yes, and since they were already in an area surrounded by wedding chapels, they figured there was no point in having a long engagement. They've remained together since then, and in 2023, they renewed their vows at the same chapel where they got hitched. This time, Bunny was decked out in a stunning white gown. Jelly Roll commemorated the occasion on TikTok while writing, "7 years ago, we stumbled into this little chapel in Vegas, blackout drunk. My only regret was never seeing her in a dress." In 2016, Jelly Roll was awarded custody of his daughter, Bailey Ann. It was the culmination of a long process. As he recalled during an appearance on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast in 2023, "I have to sit Bunny down and go, look, I have a kid that you know about that I'm fixing to have to get full custody of. There's also a woman out there that's pregnant with a kid of mine."
And Bunny's just like, whew, man, that's a lot. She was like, but I got you.
One big hurdle for Jelly Roll obtaining custody was the fact that he was a broke ex-con. He credits his wife for helping him to overcome those particular obstacles. She got them a home that included a room for Bailey Ann and paid for a lawyer, even though she wasn't sure where their relationship was headed.
She said, no matter what happens with us, I'm going to help you get this little girl.
In 2022, Bailey Ann looked back on this chapter in her life by writing on Instagram, "In 2016, my life changed forever for the better. My dad got custody of me, and so did his wife. She is the most caring woman I have ever met." The latter half of the 2010s proved to be a make-or-break period for Jelly Roll, as he continued to build his fan base while evolving from hip-hop to country. It paid off in a big way in 2020, when the acoustic ballad Save Me revealed the new sound that he'd been crafting. When the music video began racking up millions of views, it didn't take long for the industry to take notice. As BMG Nashville president John Loba told Billboard, "I saw that pain, vulnerability, that tenderness. I loved his vocal. I just said, that's a country song. I was convinced his storytelling, his heart, and his brand would be accepted by our genre." So Loba signed Jelly Roll to his label, and in September 2021, he released his first major label album, Ballads of the Broken. One of the singles off that album, Dead Man Walking, ended up becoming Jelly Roll's first ever #1 on country radio. And then Son of a Sinner topped the charts 10 months after it was released. In February 2023, Jelly Roll set a record by spending 25 weeks in the top spot of Billboard's Emerging Artists chart. A few weeks earlier, he had sold out Nashville's Bridgestone Arena, leaving no doubt that he was now a force to be reckoned with. Perhaps the biggest theme of Jelly Roll's music is the stranglehold that addiction can take on someone's life. So it was hardly a surprise in January 2024 when he traveled to Washington, D.C. to lobby for anti-fentanyl legislation before the Senate's Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. He encouraged the senators in attendance to pass the Fend Off Fentanyl Act. The bill targeted money laundering as a way to shut down fentanyl traffickers in Mexico and China, which in turn would hopefully lessen the epidemic of overdose deaths. At one point during his testimony, Jelly Roll admitted, "I've attended more funerals than I care to share with y'all, this committee. I could sit here and cry for days about the caskets I've carried of people I love dearly, deeply in my soul." Jelly Roll also addressed his own criminal past and the role that he played in getting drugs, including fentanyl, into people's hands during his days as a dealer. As he explained, "I was the uneducated man in the kitchen playing chemist with drugs I knew absolutely nothing about, just like these drug dealers are doing right now when they're mixing every drug on the market with fentanyl, and they're killing the people we love."
I encourage y'all to not only pass this bill, but I encourage you to bring it up where it matters, at the kitchen table.
In April 2024, the bill was signed into law. In early 2024, Jelly Roll's fans began noticing that there was a little less of him to love. That was certainly evident on May 7th, when he competed in the Two Bears 5K, a race hosted by comedians Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura, as part of the Netflix It's a Joke comedy festival. Jelly Roll trained for the event by embarking on a strict diet and exercise regimen. As he revealed to People magazine, "I'm probably down 70-something pounds. I've been really kicking ass, man. I'm doing 2 to 3 miles a day, 4 to 6 days a week. I'm doing 20 to 30 minutes in the sauna, 6 minutes in a cold plunge every day. I'm eating healthy right now." Jelly Roll weighed more than 500 pounds at one point, but he conceded that he still had a long road ahead of him. As he admitted, "I was thinking, I plan on losing another 100 and something pounds. If I feel this good down this weight, man, I can only imagine what I'm going to feel like by the time I go on tour." If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.